Hey, what's up ladies and gents, SpoonyPizzas here with another eFootball 2023 review. Now we're going to be looking at the version 2.3.2 and basically, graphically it's exactly the same as it's always been, so no changes there. In terms of the attacking controls, the shielding button is pretty much useless now. Unless the player is directly behind you and you've got someone who's physically capable of holding that player off, then I would abolish and not even use the shielding button whatsoever. I would much rather stick to using super cancel when you're running with the ball, and this is going to help you keep that ball a little bit longer. So the shielding has been nerfed. First touch has been improved, and there's also a sort of improvement to the overall controls and feel of your players. But there is a little bit of a detriment to this, and I'm going to touch on it in a bit later, that they've sort of nerfed an aspect of the game to pretty much oblivion. Again, but before I get into that, I would say that the through balls on level 1 passing have been nerfed. It was a bit of an issue in the last version. I found that the level 1 through ball spam from defense to attack was ridiculous. It's still pretty bad, but it's not as bad as it was. So that's good to see. In terms of the sort of rest of the gameplay, it's very similar to my sort of 2.3.0 review. So, if you've got any sort of things about how does the crossing feel, how does the lofted passing feel, so on and so forth, then go check that review. But I'm just going to focus on the things that have changed since the last version, and that's what we're going to be focused on. Finesse dribbling. So remember how I said that the players feel a little bit better turning circle-wise with the left analog stick? What I think they've done is they've nerfed the finesse dribbling, and it's very, very hard to activate it now. You have to basically stop your player and then just drift your stick off sort of 90 degree angle, and then they'll sort of use the ball roll, or roll the sole of their foot over the top of the ball, and that can be performed by anyone. Those with sole control do it better, obviously, but it's still pretty useless in game. Like, I did it in the training zone just to see if it was still there, because I was like, where's finesse dribbling gone? Because a lot of people are thinking it's actually disappeared completely. It's not completely disappeared. It's just much harder to perform and much slower, and I can't really think of any use for it right now. It seems absolutely useless because players are just going to clatter into you, especially online. It's just a complete waste of a button press, in my opinion now. So finesse dribbling is out of the window, in the garbage bin. But like I said, that seems to have improved the overall dribbling with the left stick. So your players are going to feel better to control. So we're losing one thing, but we're gaining something else in terms of the actual player movement. A lot of this is much the same, to be honest. Players are still ghosting through each other, so there's no idea who's going to win the ball when you have these physical battles with two players sort of colliding. The overall game is just not in a great place, and I'm still going to leave it as a 3 out of 10. For 2.3.2, the same as 2.3.0, because like I said, there's not a lot changed, but I would just say that the finesse dribbling has been completely abolished, pretty much, in terms of the way it's been nerfed and feels absolutely useless. I don't know whether they do that to cater to the mobile market. We'll just have to wait and see. But overall, let me just quickly summarize. So, let's talk about things that I want to have improved in the game. It's okay saying, these are the issues. There's still player freezing. Oh my god, the player freezing. Sheesh. There's still a hell of a lot wrong with this game. But let's start with the lighting. The lighting needs to be improved. The turf needs a massive overhaul. It seems to be improved since 2.2.0, but it still needs a large bit of improvement. It still hurts my eyes to play this game. When you compare it to FIFA 23, and the grass textures in there, and the grass textures created by a modding community for PES 21, like, there's no comparison. The crowd detail from a distance is absolutely pathetic. Maybe they're catering to the mobile users again. Maybe they're catering to the fact that it's still on the PlayStation 4. The match intros and outros aren't any good either. They need to work on those. The goal celebrations, they're like, the frame rate, even on the PlayStation 5, seems to dip severely for those. Same for replays. The frames per second. How are we in 2023, ladies and gents, and we've got like less than 30 frames per second? I'm sure of it. I'm sure we've got less than 30 frames per second replays. It's pathetic. It's absolutely useless. Like I said, the shielding and physical battles is the shielding's pointless now. Pointless using, like I've already covered. The first touch, like I said, it's been improved marginally. It's still not great. There's still times where you're just going to run into a lot of frustrating games because players are just sort of playing the meta, and it's your defender wins the ball, and then literally because he takes a second to control the ball, they can take it off you. If you watch my live stream the other day, you will see my defender takes this unnecessary chest of the ball. He stops, he gets pulled back, the striker runs through and goal and scores. And I was just like, wow, okay. But no other defender around reacted. It's just like, oh, well, he's going to get tackled. It's fine. It's fine. Like, there's no sort of nous about the players to go, oh, there's danger here. There could be danger. But now they just started marching upfield because I had the ball, even though he's under pressure. And he's, for some reason, I didn't even ask him to do a chest. I was trying to move the left stick. He just stops on the spot, chests the ball. Striker takes the ball off him, runs through and scores. I was like, okay, well, that's just a crappy game mechanics. You just put it down to that now. You know, I mean, you could lower your expectations and just go, oh, well, it's just part of the game. But I'm not lowering my expectations. I refuse to. I've had, and we've been all spoiled with some fantastic football games over the years, especially in the PES series. But this, you know, we could lower our expectations and go, oh, well, it's slightly better than the last version. No, the last version is terrible. Like, version 1 was a 6 out of 10. And I'm like, oh, I wish it could go back to 6, you know, being a version 1 again. That was a 6 out of 10, ladies and gents. It wasn't perfect either. I think we got to, like, raise our expectations. Say, look, it's 2023. Get the Unreal Engine 5 sorted. You know, upgrade the graphics. I can't see us merging mobile gameplay and the PlayStation 5. It just doesn't make sense. You're just going to have to... Like, the controls are so nerfed right now. You can't do half the things you could do in PES 21. Like, they're taking half the buttons away from you. It's pathetic. Like, why would you take all the buttons away from us and then just put this game out? Oh, God, it just drives me insane. Like, it just feels like a really dumbed down game for absolute noobs who've never played the game before. Then everyone's reverting to meta tactics. You know, the ones that just confuse the hell out of your defense because you got so many strikers right in the middle, and even if you tackle the player, he's got like another 3 players coming at you to tackle win the ball and then score probably just directly right through the middle of you. It's pathetic. It's absolutely boring to watch, boring to play like that. It's like, it just drives me insane. Like, people would like, I can understand the pros trying to exploit the game and, you know, reach the top. That's fine. But when you get casual players who, honestly, I've seen some casual players try and use the meta tactics. They haven't got a clue what they're doing. They're just spamming long through balls from the back. I'm like, guys, you're not competing to win a championship. Therefore, don't try and exploit the game just to win. I mean, if that's what you got to do to, you know, if that's how you live your life, just by getting off on a win, regardless of whether you're enjoying it or not, I mean, that to me is pretty sad, to be honest. But, you know, to each their own. Anyway, I digress. So the stunning through balls, I mean, they're pretty pointless, aren't they, guys? I mean, does anyone use a stunning through ball? The time it takes to power up, the time you have to, like, make sure your striker's going to stay on side. It's pointless. I find very little use in the stunning through balls. The normal through ball is adequate. You just wait for your striker to make that run, have his hand up. Okay, through ball, you know, runs through and scores. Low passing, it's far too accurate right now, and it's like a little bit ping pongy, especially on level 1. My goodness, I was playing someone on level 1 the other day on the stream, and he was just like playing around his penalty area, and I couldn't get anywhere near him because he didn't have to power up any passes. He just literally tap 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 tap. And he could just go ping, 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 and it was like always go to his player. And then he just like hit a pass from defense to attack. Pierced about 5 of my took about 5 of my players out of the game just for one pass. I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's realistic. No pressure on the striker either. He just collects the ball as if there's no one near him, and he's able to turn and run at my defense. Pathetic. They need to abolish level 1. They need to abolish level 2 passing. And just have two filters, manual and level 3 passing, and that way the manual players can play their games, the level 3 players can play their games, and there's no 1 and 2s. Because I mean, if you've got to play on level 1 or 2, then it just ruins the game, because you've got the whole purpose of eFootball 23, especially from the HQ version. It was a real good simulation, but the second you don't have to put any power on your passes, it just makes it pointless. It's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna, you know, ping ping ping, you know, like just ping pong passing, and where's the hell is the fun in that? Whereas if you have to power your passes, it means you've got to think about where you're going to play. It means you can't keep going forward. You have to turn away from the player closing you down. That means you have to go backwards. I just think they just cater to playing a certain style to make it exciting, go attack, attack, attack. But that's not what football's about. I mean, I really like their vision with the HQ build. It wasn't the greatest game in the world, but their vision with the slower pace and the way the game was designed, me and Barry both agree that that was going to be some game. But now it's like they've almost gone full 180 and gone back to PES 21 gameplay, where the meta is 3 narrow strikers, support striker in behind, through ball, 1-2 spam, and score. And that for me is boring to watch as hell. So, and boring to players. So I would. It's just not good. It's just not good at all. In terms of the crossing, nothing's changed there. Power shots is fine. Where else would I improve this game? You know, if I'm thinking about this, I just think they should slow the game right down again. I think they should go back to that sort of HQ idea of slowing it all down, and the stunning through balls, the stunning lob passes, the stunning shots were to pick up the pace of the tempo of the game, and that was the only way you could ever sort of switch the ball from side to side. Now you can just use the lofted pass, so you don't even need to use the stunning lofted pass anymore. I mean, I just don't see where the fun is. Headers, you know, they're okay, I guess. Finesse dribbling, like I said, that's been nerfed to oblivion. Why can't you just go back to the time where it was like on your right bumper, and used to be really useful to actually use in PES 2018, for example. Really good. Dribbling, okay. Dribbling right now is fine, I guess. It's still not great. It feels like, I think the problem for me is when you have the ball, is it feels like you're on rails. Everything feels like it's on rails. I feel like there's train tracks underneath the players' feet where they can't deviate properly from where they are. And I reckon there's patches of grass. I don't know way to prove it. I reckon there's patches of grass that just don't get touched by the players' feet because they're just on these train tracks. I swear, I'm sure of it. The overall shape of the teams is just like a bit of a mess, especially when you start playing attacking or defensive sort of instructions or strategies, should I say. And that's where you double tap down or up on the D-pad. And it just makes a little bit of a mess of the game. Like your players almost change roles. Like whole players are then just stuck in the box like a striker, and a bunch of other weird things going on. So yeah, it doesn't make for great reading. What else would I improve? I mean, there's so much. The shoulder bars, the matchup buttons, all to hell. Like the way you defend in this game is so automated. It needs to go back to sort of version 1 where it was like a little bit of a duel between the defense and attack, and it was like I felt like I was on edge the whole time when I was defending. Now I'm just blindly closing my eyes and just hoping my player wins the ball, because it just feels like you don't have control in this game. It feels like there's when the ball comes in the penalty box, I'm sure you're just pressing shoot like me just to clear the ball, because you don't know who's going to get it. If your player takes a touch, God help you, because he's just going to take that long animation to control the ball, and his striker's just going to run in and power it in. And it's just going to be very, very messy. Team press, I mean, that's kind of broken still right now. So when you hold the right bumper, any player can be selected. It can be. It's not just a secondary indicated player that will press the ball. It could be anyone on the pitch. You haven't got a clue who's doing it. So, yep, that's still broken. Defending in general is pretty poor. Like I said, it's very automated and not fun to use and play with. The player selection, I mean, it's not great, is it? It needs much improving. There's so much in this game that needs improving. The right stick player selection's all over the place. I've been like smashing the right stick sometimes, going, why are you not selecting this player over here? I'm literally flicking it like mad and holding it if it's a further player away. The physical battles from a defensive point of view, like I said, players are still ghosting through each other. I mean, it's pathetic. You get your player, you try to shield the ball, and sometimes that player will literally just go through your player. It doesn't clip through, but it's like he's just given up on the ball entirely. So, yeah, players just sort of ghosting through is pretty poor. Goalkeeper animations are pretty naff. I mean, all the animations in this game. The way the players run, the way the arms move, the way the legs move, I continue to harp on about it. Player ID is pathetic. It's all virtually the same. There's very little difference between the players themselves. Sometimes they'll have their own unique animation, you know, like Ronaldinho doing the little shuffle that he did against Chelsea. But other than those very, very small touches, the player ID is next to zero. Goalkeepers one-on-one, they're pretty much useless. I think the goalkeepers need a massive overhaul. They're the worst in the PES series. Like, PES has always been... I always find, like, the goalkeepers really, really fun to play against in PES because there's, like, different duels. Sometimes they come out of their box, sometimes they wouldn't. In this game, they seem to stay on their line a hell of a lot. And you just run in on goal, 6 yards out, bang, scored. It's just not great. And you're going to see a few goals like that in the background. Sprinting without the ball, I mean, it doesn't feel great when you're controlling your defense. I always find, like, I don't even touch my defenders because they don't. There's no point trying to track a runner because if you do, I don't know what happens, but they play a through ball and your player just will not get there. It will not get there. So I end up selecting my defensive midfielders, my central midfielders, to bring them back and try and press the player with the ball and try and force him to make a pass. And it's just so automated right now. It doesn't feel like a football game to me at all. It just feels like I'm wrestling with the bears the whole time. The player positioning and off the ball movement in general is generally pretty good. I think it's way better than PES 21. And that's one of the good things about this game, the way the players are positioned, the way they move vertically and horizontally. I really like the overall player movement. I think Football Life does it better. I think Football Life has fixed that in PES 21. But with regards to eFootball, I do like the way the teams are shaped and play up until the point where people start using dodgy tactics and it just gets a little bit silly and they start using the attacking strategies and it just affects your team as well as theirs, and you're just like, it's a bit like a Rubik's Cube, right? So you have your base formations, you go against each other, but as soon as you like go to attacking or defensive, it changes not only your team but their team as well. So you're like, okay, does this work? And if they change it, then you have to change yours, and it's a little bit of a tactical battle. But I don't know, I just think maybe you just need to bin the attacking strategies and just have formations. Who knows? But I just think it just gets a little bit silly when you got like 5 attacking players in your penalty box, and it's just like an absolute clusterfuck. Excuse the language. Collisions are pathetic in this game. Referees are non-existent. Absolute worst referees that I've seen in quite some time. The ball physics aren't great, are they? There's not a great variety of different shots. No real... I mean, you can outside curler it, but how often do you see it? Most of the shots are straight lines. It's still not great. Still needs needs a lot of improvement. Player ID, like I said, is absolutely pathetic in this game. So there's so much to improve on this game. I don't know where they should start. I don't know where they should start. I just think they need to make it a playable game where we feel like we've either got control or slow it right down and make it a simulation. Have a vision, have a purpose of where you're going with this game. It just feels like there's loads of input going into this game. They're all pulling in different directions, and it's a bit of a mess, if I'm being brutally honest with you. So yeah, it's so painful, guys, because I really want to like this game. I do like the dream team idea. I love that. I like building the squad, but when I got onto the pitch, I'm just like, well, in one game Mahrez feels great, in the next game he feels absolutely useless. The lag, the lack of dedicated servers. I mean, how can you do esports? I mean, dedicated servers are coming, right? That's the interview they basically held the other day in Italy, and they said that dedicated servers are going to come, but they got to come sooner rather than later, because there's people out there cheating players out of wins and doing all sorts of lag hacks and all the rest of it, and just sometimes I can play a 5-bar connection and it feels bad, and then I'll play a 4-bar connection, it feels good, and then I'll play another 4-bar connection and feel absolutely awful. It's so hit and miss with those connections, and obviously it's obviously looking at your connection at first and going, okay, what's the connection like right now? But then suddenly someone else, you know, I don't know, their brother or sister starts downloading, I was going to say something rude, you know, a video, then you know, it can impact or have an impact on the connection. And that's the problem with peer-to-peer networking over dedicated servers. So there we go, ladies and gents. I'm going to wrap this up. It's a 3 out of 10 for me. There's so much they can improve on this game, and they need to. I would love it if they just went back to version 1 and started rebuilding from there, because that one for me was the best. But yeah, oh god, I'm sorry for the rant, ladies and gents. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, don't forget to smash that like button. And I'm exhausted from talking so much. But anyway, let me know what your thoughts in the comments down below, and I look forward to seeing you. Until next time, guys, thanks for watching, and take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.